Hey there, everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave from thedarkstuff.com and the Dark Stuff channel here on YouTube. I'm back with an album review this week of a very, very special album to me. It's the one and only album from Mama Zoo. It's called Quilt Floor. It is a brand new record called Quilt Floor, but the artist is named Mama Zoo. Now, if you're going, I have no idea who that is, you're not alone, okay? This is the first album ever under this name. But I have to give you a little background on that because it's important to understand, okay? One of my favorite bands of the 2000s was a group from Nashville called Those Darlins. Initially, they were a trio, and they were very, very country influenced. In fact, when their first album came out, they were sort of almost like a punk rock Dixie Chicks in a way. When their second album, Screws Get Loose, came out, that's when I caught on to the band and became a massive fan. Saw them a bunch of times on that tour and the subsequent tour for their final album, Blur the Line. My initial introduction to Those Darlins was kind of wild. So probably about 2011. I was going to see Drive-By Truckers play at a place called The Slowdown in Omaha. One of my good friends was good friends with Patterson Hood from that band, and so we were going to go and hang out early, go backstage and hang out with Patterson for a bit. So we're sitting there in the backstage of The Slowdown and talking to Patterson, and all of a sudden this cute girl with black curly hair wearing just a towel comes running by through the room where we were at. And she was either headed to a shower or headed from the showers or whatever. They had showers at the club. And I'm just like, what the, had no idea who that was. But you're backstage, so you just don't know. Fast forward to a couple hours later, and Those Darlins comes on stage. And that woman who I saw in the towel was Jessi, and she's the singer and guitar player in Those Darlins. I was blown away by them from the get-go. I mean, they were just phenomenal. Initially, they had 3 separate singers and guitar players, and they all swapped instruments. And the drummer was a guy named Linwood, and at the time, I only knew that he played drums, but it turns out later on, he was kind of a multi-instrumentalist and did all sorts of stuff. So after that first time of seeing them and seeing Jessi in the towel before the show, I did get to meet the band except for Jessi. So I got my debut album signed by 3 of them, by Kelly, by Nikki, and by Linwood. I saw them again a couple times. I want to say once opening for maybe Black Joe Lewis, and another time opening for Old 97s, and one other time I can't remember. Maybe it was a headline show in Lincoln. I'm not sure. So this band had incorporated garage rock and punk and all this cool stuff into their original kind of country sound, and they had this amazing attitude. And like I said, they had multiple singers, and they were a fast favorite of mine. They were so good. They got more and more rock and roll as each album progressed. By the time they did their third album, Blur the Line, there was almost no country there at all. It was just a straight-up guitar rock band. 2015 or 2016 or so, the band announced that they were breaking up. They had started sessions for a 4th album. It didn't go anywhere, and they decided to call it quits. Shortly thereafter, it was announced that Jessi, she was Jessi Darlin back then she became Jessi Zazu, and her birth name was Jessi Warner. Anyway, that Jessi had cancer. She had cervical cancer, and it was pretty far along. Long story short, she did die at age 28 in, I think, 2017, I want to say. Now, where does this Mama Zoo thing come in? Okay, by the way, that's Jessi on the front. Between the time that Those Darlins broke up and she died, and Jessi died, her and Linwood Regenburg, who was the guy, they worked on a bunch of songs. Maybe some of the stuff was supposed to be that 4th Those Darlins record, maybe not, who knows. But they worked on a bunch of stuff. She passed, and over the course of the next couple of years, Linwood and some other people kind of finished the album. Now, I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't know this was coming up. I had no inclination that this was happening until last fall when they announced it and they released the first song, Lip. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome. This sounds just like a leftover Those Darlins track. I was very excited about it. And I stated at the time that I would have bought it anyways because I was just a fan of Those Darlins and of Jessi in general. But the fact that it was good makes it even easier for me to get excited about and not just be like, you know, because it was a sad situation or whatever. Well, now the record has come out, so let's actually talk about the album real quick. The vinyl itself is on this clear vinyl. So the inside has a sleeve with some pictures of Jessi and Linwood, and then the other side has the lyrics, which is good that they have all the lyrics of the songs and some more credits as far as who plays what on the record. Jessi does all the vocals, and she does a lot of guitar and some synths and some other stuff. She does lead guitar on 2 particular tracks. Okay, the first thing I noticed about the album was the wide variety of music. Like, it doesn't sound like Those Darlins, even though that song Lip does, and I was very excited about it. There's a wide stretch of stuff, okay? So it's not necessarily the kind of punk rock that they were doing on Lip. There's some experimental pieces, there's some sensitive, thoughtful kind of songs, there's some synthy stuff, and a lot of the songs, a couple of them I should say, she is confrontational in her lyrics, okay? Now, that's not controversial. There's a big difference between someone who's being confrontational and whether what they're talking about is controversial. I think what she says is basic common sense, and that's why it's just confrontational, maybe not controversial. So the album opens with a soft kind of synthy song called Safe Place to Stay. It's like I'm just looking for a safe place to stay. It's kind of an aspirational sort of love song. It's nice. The second song almost sounds like Fleetwood Mac in a way. It's called Hole in My Head, and it recalls like a late 70s, early 80s type of Fleetwood Mac. Next up after Hole in My Head is the song Lip. That's the one that I heard before, and that's the one that sounds the most like Those Darlins on the album. Great tune. She's like, I won't take no lip from the devil. I'm not going to take no lip from you. Great tune. Love it. The next song, though, is the one called Make a Joke, is the one where I was kind of referencing at the beginning, where I was saying it's confrontational but not controversial. So this is an example of Jessi's sort of fire and feminism, right? So what she's basically getting at in the song Make a Joke is she's basically attacking people who just dismiss misogyny and violence against women in a jokey sort of fashion. Like, you just think it's funny, right? And so she's saying, like, because you refuse to deal with the consequences of these things that you're just dismissing as a joke, like, you're just as bad or almost as bad as the people who are doing these things. So don't act like you're Mr., you know, just because you're not anybody or you're not hurting anybody or you're not doing any of these other things doesn't mean that you're like some sort of good guy because you think it's a joke. So she has this line where she goes, black women, white women, gay women, dead women, and just repeats that. And it's a really, really intense song. I wanted to read some of the lyrics from the last verse because I thought it was important. I'm going to read these lyrics real quick, and so I'm going to have to look down because they're printed on the record. Okay, so it goes, make a joke. You may think it's harmless. You don't have to or kill to still seem like you're heartless. Would you laugh if you heard your mama say, every time you leave the house, don't forget your pepper spray? Prude women, loose women, trans women, dead women. So that's the idea that I'm saying, that I'm getting at. Like, I don't think the ideas that she's presenting should be seen as controversial, but she is confronting people to shake them out of their apathy or their weak positioning or whatever. Side one closes out with a song called Guitar World. It's basically a country song about the marginalizing of women in music. And she's saying how she picked up a magazine, an issue of Guitar World, and all she saw was men in it. Where's she? Where's the other women of guitar, you know, women that play guitar? Musically, it kind of sounds like the song Faraway Eyes by the Rolling Stones off Some Girls. Kind of reminds me of that, her delivery and kind of the twang on it. And when she says, you know, there ain't no girls in Guitar World, you know, and it's kind of true. But, you know, the greater argument that, you know, women are kind of marginalized in music and that, you know, all the points that she's trying to make, that there ain't no women in guitar heaven, there ain't no women in Guitar World, is true. And it's something that definitely should be corrected. By the way, Jessi was a great guitar player. They switched instruments. She played bass. She played all sorts of stuff. Great stuff. Okay, FYP is a little tiny instrumental. It's about 28 seconds. FYP stands for Power. Emotional Warrior comes up, and that's sort of a synthier pop song. It's a good song. I like it. That is followed by Capital Kind. The last two songs on the record, Made of Dreams, a great spacey indie rock song, indie pop, fantastic tune. Maybe next to Lip, probably my favorite on the album. It's fantastic. And then the album closes with Four Leaf Clover, a song originally done by the Old 97s, which is really sort of poignant for me because, I mean, one of the times I saw Those Darlins was opening for Old 97s, and in fact, Linwood was playing the Old 97s drum kit. So that was really great that she got to give back on that one. Listen, I hope I did this record justice. I don't think you have to know the whole history of Those Darlins and understand the significance of them to appreciate the record. Having said that, though, if you felt like going back and checking those albums out as well, it would not be a mistake. All three of them are incredible. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Take care.
So, you have a MySpace page or something?